Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store or use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Everyone to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. First week of December, a new week of NBA betting gets underway here on Monday. Shorter schedule than usual. We're used to on Mondays here, but of course, we'll recap what we saw over the weekend, get into all 4 games here on the NBA card. I'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry, of course, and we'll wrap up the show with our lock and dog for this Monday episode. But joining me here to break everything down happening on the hardwood, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, WNBA, MLB, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast is Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Can't complain. Overall, I thought the football slate was fun too, so can't complain really about sports in general yesterday. A lot of NBA games on Sunday for some reason, and a decent amount of them were competitive or at least entertaining, so can't really complain too much. Happy to be back.
Yeah, so paying attention to the games last night, like you mentioned, we're talking briefly offline about the number of games we had on Sunday in the association, especially some of the late ones that were pretty entertaining, very high scoring games in the latter part of the day there. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch a lot on Saturday, I'll be honest.
I don't think anybody did because all the ranked teams kept losing.
Yeah. Sunday was eventful, though. I think the biggest one, I don't want to sound like a homer, but pretty impressive win by the Rockets over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now sitting, can't believe I'm saying this, a half a game out right now in the Western Conference at this juncture of the season. Of course, very, very early on, but the Rockets have looked pretty impressive thus far this season. We saw the Lakers squeak out a victory. Thank you, Mr. Will Hardy there for the Lakers. They should probably put him on the Christmas card, calling the timeout where Colin Sexton. I mean, yeah, Anthony Davis stopped playing, but could have won the game outright. Mavs with the return of Luka. They have a barn burner of a game, win this game by 6. Spurs going to Sacramento, get the victory by 2, and then the Clippers pulled off the victory against the Denver Nuggets, and the return of Aaron Gordon. So some of those star/superstar players returning for the respective teams. Scott, but where do you want to start from yesterday? Anything that kind of caught your eye?
Yeah, so I'll start off with the Rockets, as you mentioned before, beating the Thunder at home. Van Vliet with a casual 38 points. Overall, Houston's good. I mean, watching them play, they're a solid team. I know they lost to Milwaukee a couple weeks ago in a game they probably should have won. But either way, point is Houston has been rolling. They're 15-6. They have a lot of depth, and having a lot of depth is a good thing. So we'll see if they make any trades or not. My guess is probably no. I think they'll see where this current core can take them, and they'll go from there next year. But the point is Houston's definitely built themselves up as a solid, I'll use the word contender because they did beat Oklahoma City. They can potentially make some noise in the playoffs. I think that they're a solid team, and I thought it was a very good game. And Van Vliet ended up basically out-dueling Shea as he had 38 points. A nice win there for the Rockets. Besides that, I want to mention Cleveland. They were able to beat the Celtics by 4. Have to mention Jaylen Brown didn't play. So you could add a little asterisk if you want to, but a win's a win. So nice job by Cleveland, who've been slumping for the last week, but they were able to get the job done while trailing, actually. They scored 43 points in the fourth quarter, came back. They were down double digits entering the fourth quarter, and they were able to get the job done courtesy of a lot of free throws in the last minute or so for both teams. Besides that, I want to at least mention who else do I want to go with? Luka had a monster game after he came back off the injured list at 36, 7, and 13 as they were able to win against Portland. You saw Kyrie not play, but it didn't matter because Luka was so good that he ended up leading his team to 137 points. Besides that, Wemby had a triple-double. Damn, the Kings are not very good. I didn't think they were going to be going to the year because I didn't think they'd guard anybody And what do you know? The Spurs scored 127 points. So nice win there for the Spurs while coming from behind in the fourth quarter. Last but not least, got to mention the late game, which was Joker losing despite having a triple-double. He tied Magic, I believe, for most triple-doubles of all time because James Harden had a monster, what do you want to say, 2017 game, 2016 game?
He's been playing pretty well, honestly. We haven't talked about him a lot this season, but he's actually been really, really good for the Clippers.
Yeah, Harden turned the clock back at 39, 9, and 11. Norman Powell came back. He was great in general. I believe he had 28 points in that game. Yeah. And the Clippers won. The Clippers, of course, don't have their own draft pick. They're kind of forced into trying, and we are wondering how they'd look without Paul George after they kind of let him walk. 13-9, and Paul George is still on the shelf, and Philly sucks. So overall, nice, I'd say, job with the roster construction for the Clippers. I think that the Norman Powell, I'd say, decision to keep him in the starting lineup and to let him cook has definitely worked out. And Harden has been amazing for the last week. So overall, nice job of the Clippers getting the job done there against the Nuggets. As for the Nuggets, Joker's going to do Joker things. This team is just not very good. It is what it is. And I feel like when you're looking at Malone, who called that his team after giving up 145 to the Knicks about a week or two ago, I'm not going to call it an outlier. Let's put it that way. This team is just not very good defensively. Yeah. And they're also just not a serious title contender. I know Joker's the best player on the planet. I think it's either him or Giannis for MVP. But watching Denver play night in, night out, this team is really unimpressive. And they are awful in the first half ATS. They're the worst first half ATS team in the entire league. They just come out flat every single game. And I don't really know what it is, but they're constantly trailing in the first quarter and the first half.
Yeah, I think for Denver, I want to say Jokic does end up playing the entire first quarter, but it's just the surrounding pieces around him that are just not stepping up. Michael Porter Jr. has just constantly been inconsistent throughout his career. You'll see flashes, but he was 1 of 1 last night from beyond the arc. Very Michael Porter Jr. like. They did get Aaron Gordon back. Maybe that gives him a little bit of boost defensively. I know the calf injuries can be a little bit tricky. He only played 24 minutes last night, but it's something that we talked about going back to last season or even the year after they won the championship, that the depth was going to be a serious concern for this team. And despite having the best player in the world and the MVP thus far, I think that you need to have those surrounding pieces and consistency around Jokic to have a legitimate title contender. I think they just don't have that right now. I don't know if Jamal Murray just continues to deal with that knee issue, whatever the case might be. But again, another player that supposed to be your second best player just hasn't been able to fill that role right now after removed from winning the championship a few seasons ago. So I don't know what they're going to do with the future here. Maybe they need to trade Michael Porter Jr. or I don't know what they're going to do, but it just looks very, very difficult right now for this team to contend. I mean, look, they are above 502 games. We'll see if it turns around for them with Aaron Gordon.
To be fair, the 2 games in the West is really not worth that much because the West is stacked. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just saying, I know Gordon's going to come back. That'll help out the defense, obviously. But if Denver ended up not having a home court for any playoff series, I would not even, I'd say, be it's not even a matter of the fact that I would not be shocked at all. It's the fact that I'm expecting them to not have home court in a single playoff series at this point.
Yeah. I mentioned the other ones. Wemby had a big night. The Sacramento Kings, I think after the game came out, or Mike Brown came out and said that Malik Monk is going to be starting going forward for this team.
I mean, they can't guard anybody, so have fun.
Yeah. I mean, who do they have in the starting lineup that was it Keon Ellis that was starting for them?
Well, they had Herter starting initially, and then he has been kind of injured here or there, but I get the argument. The argument is Monk's really good when he's scoring, but you need so much scoring with Fox, defense. With Monk, and with, of course, DeRozan now, and even Sabonis, that you need to score so many points because you can't guard anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm not shocked the Kings have been underwhelming because how are you supposed to win in a very competitive conference if you cannot stop the other team from scoring 120?
Yeah. All right, before we continue the conversation here for the NBA, just want to remind everybody, make sure you guys download the SGPN app. It's completely free, and you have access to all of our shows and all of our picks page. And it's, again, like I mentioned, free wherever you do get your apps, with the App Store, Google Play Store, where the case might be. Do us a favor and download the SGPN app. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it from me last night. Yeah, I didn't have anything else. You have anything else for the weekend or yesterday?
Just one more thing. Shout out
Yeah,
to Orlando. I know they played the Nets. The Nets have been actually playing decently lately,
they've
mostly
been
on the
pretty
West
good.
Coast. But
Yeah,
yeah, Orlando's 12-1 in their last 13.
yeah,
And a reminder, Banchero hasn't played in like a month and a half.
yeah,
So props to Orlando. I know we're talking about Coach of the Year previously, and I know that with Atkinson and how good Cleveland was to start the year, he was the pretty big favorite. We got to give Mosley more love because Banchero missed about a month, and they're, I believe, 12-5 without Banchero. I
yeah.
got to give him his flowers. He's been amazing, and Orlando with Wagner emerging as a potential superstar. I get it. I understand you want to give credit to the players and all, as you should, because Fran's been great. I got to give props to Mosley. And when it comes to the actual standings and when it comes to the injuries involved, Mosley should be a top 2 favorite in the Coach of the Year race because what he's done with this team while their best player has been out has been really just indescribable. They've been amazing. So
Yeah.
I think Mosley should arguably be the favorite right now to win Coach of the Year.
So right now, of course, just because of the start they did get off to is Kenny Atkinson at -120. Imi Udoka's at +370, and then it's Jamal Mosley at 9-1 right now, currently over on DraftKings. But again,
I
definitely
get the
shop around, get the
Udoka
best
part
number.
because
Yeah,
I get the Udoka part because Houston's been great too. But with the injuries that we're talking about, and with how we all thought Orlando without Banchero just wasn't going to score, we thought they were probably screwed for a
yeah.
month or two with him being gone. If they're able to win like 70% of their games without Banchero, I mean 9-1's a massive price. Like
Yeah.
if Orlando wins 55 plus games and Banchero misses a couple months, I think he's got to be at least a finalist. Like, I think 9-1's a pretty big price. Would you agree?
I think so. I thought this number would be short of like 5-1 or
Yeah.
6-1 around
I
there.
understand the two guys ahead of him, but I got to factor in the
Yeah.
injury stuff because Orlando's been fantastic.
Yeah. I think says that Paulo may be back around Christmas for the Orlando Magic. That's what the goal. So the evaluation
Yeah.
was, or they were going to reevaluate him in 4 to 6 weeks. And again, that's what I'm reading right now. That
You had 2 months
maybe,
without your best player and you're winning like 80% of your games. I'm
yeah,
sorry, you should be close to the favorite to win Coach of the Year. Like, that's just
100%.
extremely impressive.
Yeah, and just quickly look at the MVP odds as well. Jokic still at +180, SGA +320, Jason Tatum's 5-1, Giannis 7-1.
That's a joke. That's an absolute joke. That you have
Giannis,
Shea and you have Tatum ahead of Giannis. That's an absolute joke. I understand that Shea's had a great year, and I understand that Tatum's had a very good year too. But when you're factoring in just maybe it's the eye test or just the overall stats and everything like that, but Milwaukee's over 500 now. Like they had a really bad start to the year. They've actually been good for the last couple weeks.
mhm.
Giannis had a 40-plus point triple double against a fake basketball team in the Wizards a couple days ago. I don't know how it's not Joker or Giannis at this point, and I don't think anybody else is close. For me, it's a clear 2-horse race, and the only thing that's stopping that from happening is the record of Denver and the record of Milwaukee. By season's end, maybe it'll balance itself out, but I think the two options that I would at least consider, and really nobody else right now, is Joker and Giannis. No offense to Shea, no offense to Tatum. I don't think it's close. I think Joker and Giannis
Giannis,
are
yeah.
significantly ahead of anybody else.
Yeah, I think I mean, we were talking about early in the season how much the Sixers and the Bucks were struggling, but quietly the Bucks have now won 6 games in a row, and it's
The Eastern
been
Conference
because
does
of
suck, though. Like, I'll admit it, but that does
yeah.
help. But if Milwaukee ends up going back to, like, let's say 45 wins,
Mhm.
47 wins in a really bad Eastern Conference,
Yeah.
I can't really hold the record against Giannis, but just based on the stats and based on everything, I don't know. Giannis is, I'd say, a better price than Shea and Tatum. Doesn't make any sense to me. I get Joker being favored, but Giannis should be second.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up his stats right now, what
The
he's
stats are
at.
nuts.
30, close to 33 points a game, which I'm pretty sure is leading the league right now in points per game. Close to 12 rebounds per game, 11.9, and he's averaging 6.6 assists per game. And that's even not even factoring how much of an impact that he is on the defensive side of the basketball as well. So, yeah, again, shop around. I think that it's a good number on Giannis at 7-1. I think they're going to continue winning games. They should be getting Chris Middleton back fairly soon. We'll see how effective he's going to be, but I think they figured it out there. I think defensively they've actually been really, really good there as well. So again, yeah, we'll talk about these markets and things that we do see when we have these shorter slates like we do today here on Monday. So yeah. All right. Scott, before we do get into the games here for tonight, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus in all of sports. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and much more. And you can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. So make sure you guys use that promo code NBA SGPN when you do sign up over at Underdog Fantasy, because you'll get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we've been having a lot of success here on the NBA podcast, putting together our Underdog Fantasy entry. I believe we hit at least at minimum one entry per week at around 6x. So you've been if we hit 1 out of the 5 days, which we have, you're up a pretty coin right now. So again, get over there, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. All right, Scott, 4 games on the schedule here tonight. Let's get into it. We'll start it off with the first game on the schedule, rematch of a few seasons ago of the Eastern Conference Finals, the Miami Heat. They're in Boston to take on the Celtics. Celtics currently laying 9.5 points in this game with a total of 220. Both teams are on a back-to-back situation here. The Miami Heat were in Toronto on Sunday. They did drop that game 119-116 to the Raptors. And then the Celtics also dropped their game against the Cleveland Cavaliers with their which were without Jaylen Brown, 115-111. No injury report submitted just yet, but we'll see if we do have game time decisions on Jimmy Butler. And for the Boston Celtics side, we'll see if Jaylen Brown's able to go. Did Derek White play yesterday? Because I know he left the game on, was it Friday, with a foot injury? So he didn't play as well.
So I forgot to mention that Derek White and Jaylen Brown didn't play. So a good win for Cleveland, but I got to mention it. They were missing a couple starters.
Yeah, so he's also a game time decision in this game. So we'll look out for if those two guys are able to go. Also, Porzingis, I would assume that he's going to sit here tonight being on a back-to-back situation here, but he did play 32 minutes yesterday for the Celtics. Finished the game with 21 points, 8 rebounds. But nonetheless, Miami Heat catching 9.5 here, Scott, with a total of 220. What are you thinking?
Yes, I'll start off with something simple. There's a 0% chance I bet this game. I can't stand both these teams when it comes to betting, just to be clear. Like Miami, I thought when Butler came back, started to look, I'll use the word competent. Let's go with that word. And they were playing better basketball. And then you watch them lose to Toronto yesterday. And they gave up 37 points to RJ Barrett. And I'm like, all right, I guess we're not making any progress this entire season. Like, I don't think the Heat are that good at basketball. I thought that they were playing better over the course of the last week. They beat Toronto earlier this past weekend. Then lost the immediate rematch game in Toronto, but they almost choked away like a 20-point lead to Charlotte, and Charlotte's been atrocious lately. They lost to Milwaukee in a close game there. They trailed. I know Giannis didn't play in that game. They still lost. They've just been bad. Like, I don't think they've been impressive at all. Now, Boston, on the other hand, had a war yesterday against Cleveland where they were missing some starters. You said Porzingis is not going to play, probably on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
White and Brown, we don't know if they're going to play or not, so we'll see what happens, but they've not been great laying points so far this season, especially as laying basically double digits, which this basically is. The Jimmy Butler might not play. He tweaked his knee late last night. Shocker. Yeah. Jimmy Butler might not play a basketball game. Point is, though, I can't really trust either team in this spot. Like, I don't know if Miami can really do much offensively with Butler being out, and I don't really know if I can trust Boston not knowing who's going to play. And they've also been playing with their food for the entire season. They tend to play 40 good minutes out of 48. And that might not be enough to cover. So, yeah, I got nothing for this game. Starting off the slate strong here. We got 4 games, and I got no opinion on this one. I think for this one, I'm going to go under.
Yeah.
Because I just think with Butler being probably out and with Brown maybe not playing and White probably not playing or maybe not playing, I got too many questions about the offense for both teams. But I think I'm on the under, but I'm really not going to bet this. If I was going to take anything, probably Tatum props if Brown doesn't play. But damn, both teams got injuries, and I'm really not interested because they've been really annoying to bet on over the course of the first couple months of the season.
So
Do you trust either of these teams?
if you had to make me pick between one of these two teams, like the cop-out answer would be I trust Boston in the first half, because we've seen over the past several seasons, like you mentioned, that they end up playing with their food in the third quarter and fourth quarter. But Boston has actually been pretty good on back-to-back situations dating back to last season. They've been in that situation 17 times. They're 15-2 straight up, 12-5 ATS, scoring about 124 points per game. But again, it's just the fact, like we talked about with the injuries, is that if both Derek White and I think Jaylen Brown does end up playing. I'm looking at RotoWire.
He was an illness, so it would make sense if he was able to suit up for this game. But Porzingis is going to be out regardless, and White we don't know about. So
and White's dealing with that foot injury, so I'm not sure if they really want to force him. I'm trying to see. Left the game against Chicago, didn't return to the right foot soreness, didn't play. So we'll see if he plays here tonight. So I'm assuming Butler does not play here tonight. I would just look at Boston in the first half. Just get in, get out with your money like we have been. They've been really good in the first half. I would expect Jaylen Brown to be out there if he is, along with Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday. I think that's more than enough for me against Miami in the first half there. So I'll give you that first half. First half Boston at home, where they've been in really good back-to-back situations. For the Heat side of things, I'll mention that you said the under. There is a trend that does back it up here, Scott, dating back to last season. When Heat are on a back-to-back situation, they're 11-4 towards the under. And if we're assuming that Jimmy Butler does not play in those games, obviously your offense is compromised there. And if those games on back-to-back situations for the Heat are on the road, they're 8-2. Towards the under, so 80% towards the under in those games on back-to-back situations on the road.
I don't know equate it to the playoff series last year, but I feel like I kind of have to because Butler is probably not going to play in this game. The main issue we had, with the exception of that one game, I think it was game 2 where Miami went crazy from 3, they couldn't score in like 4 of the 5 games in that series, and now Butler's probably not going to play again. If I'm going based on what I've seen in this matchup last year with Butler not being in the lineup, Miami can't score against this team. So I'll go with the under.
All right. Let's move it along here to the next game on the schedule. We'll go with the New Orleans Pelicans. They are in Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Hawks. Currently, as it stands, the Hawks are a 10-point favorite in this game with a total of 229.5. Looking at the injury report, Pelicans were supposedly in Madison Square Garden yesterday. They did get their shit kicked in, 118-85, only scored 27 points in the first half. 33-point victory there for the Knicks. So on a back-to-back situation here, I'll get to the injury report for them momentarily.
They scored less than 30 points in the first half. I know you just said that, but just to be clear, to state that again, they scored less than 30 points in the entire first half.
We're usually used to seeing teams score at least 30 points in the first or second quarter, but combined, just not very good for them. For the Atlanta Hawks side of things, Trae Young is probable tonight. He's dealing with that right Achilles tendonitis. Bogdan Bogdanović is probable tonight with a right hamstring injury management. So expect those two guys to be out there. For the Pelicans side of things, Brandon
Ingram's a maybe. That's what I got. Brandon Ingram might come back. That's basically it.
Yeah.
So
Alvarado, we know, is outside. It's going to be out for probably, the rest of the season. Talk about the DeJounte Murray revenge / Dyson Daniels revenge game / that trade that happened in the offseason. But Hawks, 10 points. What type of world are we in here, Scott? Where the Hawks
Atlanta's been winning games lately. I mean, they beat Cleveland twice somehow, and they ended up beating Charlotte. Now, Charlotte's not very good. That game was close. They won by 3. Don't believe they covered that game. I think the spread was 3.5. But Atlanta's been playing better. I mean, I've called this team a circus all year. That's what they are, but they're somehow only 1 game under. They beat Cleveland twice, but are 1-2 against the Wizards. I don't know. Like, I don't understand it.
That's the NBA in a nutshell.
That's the only team the Wizards have beaten, by the way, so far this season. They've lost 14 straight. Point is, though, I do think for this matchup, I understand why the line is so big. New Orleans is a laughingstock. It's what they are. They're 4-17. They're 1-10 away from home. They're a joke. I mean, I got nothing else to add. Like, I think Atlanta should win this game, obviously. They won the first game by 15 on the road, so I get it. I would consider the over. I don't know if New Orleans can score. Like, that's kind of a problem. I'll give props to Atlanta's defense. Atlanta's actually allowed less than 105 in back-to-back games. Now, Charlotte's had a hard time reaching 100 in the last week, so that's, I'd say, understandable. Only 101 to Cleveland's impressive. So I do think that Atlanta's kind of discovered some things, mainly with Trae Young actually shooting less. He's been a bigger facilitator. They've kind of let Jalen Johnson cook. They've let other guys actually shoot. But I feel like Trae's done a better job of being either efficient or just cutting down on the volume, which I think has actually resulted in a more, I'd say, balanced offensive approach for this team. Trae, assist-wise, is still a lunatic. I mean, he's one of the best passers in the entire league. But I do like how they've been kind of letting other guys cook at various points in games, which I feel like has kind of made them a bit more unpredictable offensively. I mean, besides that, though, New Orleans is 1-10 on the road, so I get it. Am I really about to lay 10 with the Hawks? Because I feel like I don't know if I could actually look myself in the mirror and do that, but I can't look myself in the mirror and take points with the Pelicans right now either. So I think if I was going to go with anything, I might just go with Hawks team total over and just pick the Hawks to dominate. I mean, I mentioned before they played already this season. The Hawks scored 126 on the road in early November. I don't trust New Orleans to do really anything on a basketball court, but I think defensively they've been really underwhelming as well. They've given up at least 118 points in 3 straight games. I think Atlanta can definitely get into the 120s in this game, and the line's at 129.5. So I think that that's a pretty reasonable team total. I'll go with the over in Atlanta team total. I like Trae assists. I think he's probably going to walk into like 12, 13 assists in this game. But I can't trust the Pelicans because they're 1-10 on the road.
Yeah, 1-10 on the road. Their lone victory was against the Trailblazers, the first game of the season where they had to come from behind in that game as well. I think that was a Brandon Ingram game winner for the Pelicans.
But the point is all their star players, including Zion, actually played.
Yeah. And I mean, ever since then, they've scored more than 105.3 times on the road. Golly. Yeah, I can't get behind this Pelicans team right now. I mean, the motivated effort would be maybe DeJounte Murray, but if you just want to isolate him, just look at his player props. But 1-10 straight up on the road, 2-9 ATS on the road for the Pelicans, and back-to-back situations this season. 0-4 straight up, 1-3 ATS. Very small sample, but again, they're just missing their guys. That's the whole premise of this team right now. So we'll see if Brandon Ingram does go here tonight, but I think I would have to agree with Scott here. Just look at the Hawks team total over Trae Young assist, DeJounte Murray PRA. If you want to go that route, I think that would be and then maybe if you go Dyson Daniels PRA or his defensive stats, I think that would be the look here for me. So yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else for this game here?
Not really for this game, but I just wanted to ask you in general. We know that New Orleans is currently 4-17. They're in the Western Conference. They're dead. The team's dead. I'm not going to tell you that they're going to make a push for anything. No, they're dead.
Yeah.
Are they finally going to nuke the team? Because I don't know what Zion can really. I know what you can get for Zion. Ingram's been in trade rumors for years. I mean, you have some talented players that I think other teams might consider wanting, and they've been kind of stuck in purgatory for a couple of years. They've been too good to actually bottom out, but they've been too bad to actually be relevant in the Western Conference. Is this the excuse you needed to finally nuke the team? Because I think they have to tank. They have their own draft pick, so Cooper Flagg is actually a possibility for this team right now. Getting a bottom 3 record in the league in this Western Conference is actually doable as long as you don't force everybody back when they're healthy, Zion, Ingram, etc. Are they finally going to blow it up? Because this is kind of overdue, and it feels like they finally have the framework to nuke the entire roster and to bottom out.
Yeah, I think you would have to. I mean, again, look, you're already 4-17. You already have one of the worst records in the Western Conference.
You don't know when Zion's coming back either, so it's not like you're going to get him back anytime soon. So
Zion's probably good for 10 games in his career now.
I don't think you could trade Zion. I don't know who'd want Zion.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that they would take him. I think Brandon Ingram does get moved at this trade deadline once they do get him back. Maybe it's tonight. Maybe there's next game. You start showcasing him. But also it's a motivation factor for I guess for these guys. Like, man, we suck. We're 4-17. Do I really want to be out there
The only guy that I would back in that motivate, if they end up tanking, the one guy I'm backing every game is Alfred Payton. It's the only guy I'm going to back.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll take his assists, but that's basically it. This team's a laughing stock. It is what it is. So, yeah, Zion's a kind of a weird trade case because they did give him an extension a couple years ago, and he's never on the court.
Right.
So that's not exactly a guy you'd want to trade for, but I get the talent's undeniable. But you know what I'm trying to say? This team has made a lot of, let's say, questionable all-in pushes with Zion as their main guy because he can't be reliable as a main guy, and it's finally imploded, and I feel like they have to move on. So,
yeah, rookie season played 24 games, followed that up by 61, 29 in 2022, 2023, had a career high 70 games last year. This season, he's only played in 6 games.
It's a shame, though, because when he plays, he's arguably a top 20 guy in the league. Like, Zion's 100%. Really, really good. He's just never on the court.
Yeah. I mean, look, that game, the year he played 61 games, he was averaging 27 points per game. Last year, with the talent that they had, with Ingram out there, he averaged 23 points per game. This season, the small sample, 22.7 points per game. So I think that, again, like you mentioned, when he's on the court, it's just, he's great, but the best thing you can do for your team sometimes is be available. And Zion, more times than not in his career, he's not available. So I think that's just been the downfall for him thus far throughout his young career. So we'll see what transpires for this team. All right, Scott, before we continue the handicapping for the Monday card here, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Rebet. Rebet, we're brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sports book that is available in 45 states. There are plenty of betting opportunities that are available on Rebet. Easy to use and great for people in the states where traditional sportsbook may be restricted. Download Rebet in the App Store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag, and MyBookie has been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website, great on mobile, plus props for every game, and the live dealer casino even has new early cash out options. Head to mybookie.ag. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, you also get a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag. Use our promo code SGPN. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's prep partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered back sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models and from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. And then you can also track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA, Rhythm has it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, Scott, let's get over to the next game on the schedule. We've got the LA Lakers. They are in Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. Wolves currently laying 8 points in this game with a total of 219. Looking at the injury report, the Lakers did play in Utah last night. Squeaked out the victory. Now they are in a back-to-back road situation here. We'll see who ends up playing this game. They have a lot of questionable tags: D'Lo, Cam Reddish, Austin Reeves. We'll even see if LeBron or AD are out there in back-to-back situations.
That's a serious compliment, by the way. You said Cam Reddish, like that actually mattered. That's a huge compliment.
He's been pretty good defensively.
I know he's been fine defensively. I'm just saying, like
I'll give him that.
That's a guy I'll throw out there. All right, sure.
He's actually been I think they actually started him for a couple games, but before they decided to put Dalton Connect into the starting lineup there. But
you know what's also crazy? I saw the other day, I think it might have been yesterday, Gabe Vincent had 10 points in a game. Look at Gabe Vincent.
He started yesterday for them too, right?
Yeah, I know. I think he was doing cardio for about a month straight, but he actually scored 10 points in a game the other day. So props to Gabe Vincent.
Oh yeah, he had 10 last night on 4 of 5 shooting. Let's see, what else did he do? Yeah, that's been the season high for him. So hey, maybe
I'm not surprised at the season high, but props to him for making an appearance yesterday. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, they played 32 minutes last night, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. They could definitely use his shooting coming off the bench. But yeah, we'll see if they're able to get some of these guys back tonight because they were very, very thin on that bench last night. Traore, Christian Coloco, Max Christie, And Jalen Hood-Schifino, hey, he made his season debut last night, I believe. So we'll see if those guys are out there. Keep that in mind. Minnesota relatively healthy. Nobody really on their injury report of significance. Only Joe Ingles, but again, that guy's way past his prime, but he's out for this game. All right. Wolves laying 8 points here. Scott with a total of 219. What do you think?
Well, for the record, I see that Bronny James is questionable, and I thought he was still in the G League, so I don't know what he's doing here. I thought he was ditching G League games because of injury, so I don't know why he's on the NBA roster now. But either way, point is, though, for this game, I understand the spot. I get why the line is so big. I mean, the line's priced in like 80 and LeBron are not going to play. Like Minnesota laying 8 against anybody right now is an insane price because this team it's not even fluky that they're below 500. This team just can't stand each other.
Yeah.
Like it looks like Randall and Gobert want to punch each other in the face, and they've been trying to like battle it out through passive aggressive nonsense for the last couple months. You're looking at Ant, who's been fine this season. To be honest, I thought he could be better. Scoring-wise, has been great. He's averaging 27-plus points per game. The assists, I'm still not impressed by. Connolly's been injured, too. They really don't have a backup point guard, and he's averaging less than 4 assists per game. I mean, he averaged 5.1 last year. I was kind of hoping for more playmaking and more facilitating from Ant. I feel like Ant right now is putting up stats where I understand he's getting his. I don't think he makes his teammates better. I don't know if that's an insult. I mean, it's an insult, but I don't feel like I'm off base. I feel like that's a pretty standard takeaway just watching Minnesota play. It's kind of like Ant's going to get his thing, and then that's basically it. The rest can fend for themselves, but Randall and Gobert can't stand each other. McDaniel's taken a step back. He hasn't been as good as he was last year. Connell's been in and out of the lineup, but you look at the Lakers probably missing half the team, and they're an older team that's on a back-to-back, so it would make sense if the Lakers sat some guys. However, last year, they beat Boston when they sat half the team on a back-to-back. Like, they've been able to get up in some spots where they've been missing some guys. For this one, I think I'm just going to go with the Minnesota 1-10 angle. I'll go for plus money. If Minnesota kills this team, it wouldn't shock me, but until I actually see them not even win comfortably, but actually look happy playing together on a basketball court, I can't back a team with chemistry. She's win by double digits. I just can't do that. Give me the Lakers to hang in there with whoever the hell they have on the roster. Give me the Timberwolves 1-10. This team's been a joke for the sake of their expectations. Dante's been a mess, and the trade has kind of backfired immediately after Katzman rolling with the Knicks. But I'll go with Minnesota 1-10. They should win the game. It might randomly be close, but I can't lay this with Minnesota. I just can't. I don't trust this team at all.
Yeah, I'm not laying points with Minnesota. Everything that you mentioned there, I don't trust this team right now. It's been Anthony Edwards, who a little bit has been a shell of himself, but it's just they haven't had any consistent
his scoring's
play.
Been great, but you could just acknowledge whether it involves letting Randall isolate and have his standard possessions, which are pretty painful to watch.
Yeah.
The assists, though, for Ant, I'm disappointed by, because with Conley being out, especially for a couple games here or there, you figure with him having the ball so much, he would walk into like 5 assists per game. Less than 4? I get you want to shoot, but I feel like at some point you got to at least acknowledge that you can make your teammates better. And Ant, I think, has come up short in that aspect of this season. Do you agree on that?
100%. I think we talked about this at the beginning of the season. It's that when the trade did go down between the Knicks and the Wolves here, at the time it felt it was a lateral move, but Cat has really flourished in this role with the Knicks. And even though that Randall's averaging 21, 22 points per game, it just feels very unimpactful for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And I think that's just kind of been what Julius Randle has been, that we know that he can get the points, he can put up the triple doubles, but it's just very unimpactful. It just doesn't contribute to winning, and it doesn't make his teammates better. Speaking of the Wolves this season as a home favorite, they are 6-4 straight up, just 2-8 against the spread. And Anthony Davis, if he does play tonight, I will be on his props. He takes these games against Rudy Gobert personally, with all the chatter of, defensive player of the year. I'll just quickly read off these numbers since last season when Anthony Davis has matched up against Rudy Gobert. 38, 38, 31, 33. There was a game where he had only 4 points, but he played 12 minutes. He left that game early with an injury. And these two teams did match up earlier this season. I think it was the first game of the regular season. 38 minutes for Anthony Davis, 36 points and 16 rebounds in that game. And that was a game that Lakers did win 110-103. So I'm taking the points here with the Lakers with an asterisk, of course. And with the three teams we've talked about today, or the three games, that a lot of these teams are in back-to-back situations. So are the Nets here. We'll talk about here in a second. But I can't lay this many points here with the Minnesota Timberwolves here. So I'll take the Lakers plus the points here. Hopefully Anthony Davis, I think he will play tonight. I don't think he's going to be ducking Rudy Gobert, but I definitely will be on his props here for tonight. You got anything on the total?
On the total, I think I would consider, I mean, it's so tough not knowing who's going to play for the Lakers.
Yeah.
I think I would consider the under and just expect them to kill each other, but I don't really have any thoughts on the total without knowing who's going to play. I was quickly just going to say, though, that with all the injury stuff, this is why I'd say basketball fans have a hard time watching the NBA day in, day out. You have 4 games, and you have no idea who's going to play in basically any of these games.
Yeah,
it's true. A joke. So I wanted to at least point that out because I know the NBA ratings have been down, whether it involves people watching illegally or not, whatever. I know that's definitely a factor that's not really been included, but you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah. The point is, though, people have not been happy with the NBA for years because of load management, etc. It's because of days like these. Now, people are going to be watching Monday Night Football anyway, so like I'm aware of it, but you have 4 games on the card, and we've mentioned like serious injury questions about every team that we've talked about. Like, really? Like, you don't know what you're getting day in, day out, and I feel like that's why a lot of NBA fans are kind of pissed at the product and what it's turned into. This is a great example of that, because on paper, it should be a great game. I get LeBron, is in his 40s now, and AD's had injury issues. I get all that. But this game on paper should be really good, and instead it might be the, I'd say, C squad or D squad for the Lakers taking on the Timberwolves. Like, I feel like a lot of these games had a lot of, let's say, missed potential to be really good. Even the Heat game, it's not their fault Jimmy Butler got injured, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, a lot of games on paper should be very entertaining matchups, and they're just not because you don't know who's playing any of these games.
Yeah, last night against Utah, Anthony Davis played 39 minutes. Rui Hachimura played 40. LeBron played 36 minutes last night as well. I think one of those two guys would be out there tonight. Maybe LeBron does sit. Their next game is actually in Miami on Wednesday. But I'll mention this here quickly, Scott, on back-to-back situations this season. It's a very small sample, but the Lakers have actually been pretty good in those spots. They're actually 3-0 straight up and 2-1 ATS. And dating back to last season, when the Lakers are in a back-to-back situations and they're an underdog, the over is actually 7-1 in those spots there. So, for the trend players, I know we have a couple of trend players in there. That's a pretty good trend there. 7 straight, I should say, overs in those spots for the Lakers.
Assuming that they sit half the team, by the way, just give me connect threes.
Yeah, 100%. He's been good. What did he do last night? He had a bad shooting night, but again, bad shooters bounce back. 2 of 10 last night, 1 of 5 from 3. Did have 5 fouls last night. Did play 30 minutes, but yeah, if he does play here tonight, which I fully expect him to, I think this would be a good spot for him. All right, you got anything else for this game?
Not really. Once again, it's a game where I'm hoping a lot of guys, star players, play, but they're probably not going to. So.
Yeah. All right, last game of the night, we've got the Brooklyn Nets. They are in Chicago to take on the Bulls. Bulls currently laying 7.5 points in this game with a total of 233.5. Injury report. I'll start here with the Bulls. They did not play yesterday, so we have Kobe White, who's officially questionable tonight. He's dealing with a left ankle sprain. Patrick Williams continues to be out for the Chicago Bulls. Other than that, everybody is a go. Lonzo Ball did return for his Bulls team. He's going to be limited to around, I think, 14 to 16 minutes of what Coach Donovan said for Lonzo Ball before they do ramp him up. For the Brooklyn Nets, yesterday, like we talked about, they played against the Magic in Brooklyn, now traveling to Chicago on their minutes distribution, I should say. Cam Johnson played 36 minutes last night. Dennis Schroeder played 37. Nick Claxton, 28. Ben Simmons is going to be out for this game, I'm pretty sure, because he left the game yesterday with, I believe, was a knee injury. They're relying on guys like Shake Milton, Trenton Watford for this Brooklyn Nets team. Nonetheless, catching 7.5 points here in Chicago here. Scott, what do you think about your team?
Yeah, the Nets, another team that we've noted was playing for the game because they're half the roster feels like they're on the injury report. But Yeah, it's kind of a weird matchup because the Nets have been playing some lower scoring games, at least recently, where they only scored 100 points against the Magic, and then they scored 92 against the Magic, but they were doing well on the West Coast, winning a bunch of games there. The Bulls are the opposite; they can't stop anybody. They've given up 133 plus points in 2 straight, and I mentioned before the Nets gave up 100 last game to Orlando. The Bulls gave up 133. They beat the Wizards. Congrats.
Mhm.
Gave up 142 to Memphis. I don't believe Ja played in that game. Beat Atlanta the game before that. So, like, I don't think the Bulls are good, but they can score. But Kobe White's been a solid player for this team, and he might not play.
Mhm.
The Nets beat him already this season by 8, but they're on a back-to-back in this spot. I think I'm going to go with the Nets, actually. I'm not going to. I mean, once again, it's a lot of games. The lock and dog segment's going to be interesting because, damn, I hate pretty much the entire card today. But the Nets have been really thriving in this underdog role. And we saw
Yeah.
them missing a bunch of guys in the last couple games on the West Coast. We saw Cam Thomas get injured. Cam Johnson got injured. They were still able to beat Golden State, trailed by 18 in the third quarter, came back and they won that game. Beat Sacramento in the game where Thomas had a big game in general, but then, of course, he got injured in the game against Golden State, I believe. Point is, though, they beat Phoenix. Tyrese Martin had 8 threes. You might be wondering who the hell that is exactly. That's my point. They've been calling up guys and they've been doing well. Like, it feels
Yeah.
like Jordy Fernandez is not going to win Coach of the Year, but damn, he's a good coach. Just watching this team play. I'm still not a big fan of Chicago. They have a lot of talent on the roster. They don't guard anybody. I think the Nets can do enough to actually keep the game close. How? I don't know, but I think they'll find a way. Give me the Nets plus the points. I just don't want to lay this. I don't want to say it's the exact same thing with the Timberwolves laying 8, but it's kind of the same, I'd say, overall principle. I don't want to lay this if I don't have to with Chicago. It's a lot of points to lay with Chicago. I'll go with the Nets plus the points.
Yeah, I think it's an auto bet for me. Nets in the first half. That's been one of the more profitable angles this season. 15-6 overall ATS in the first half. They're 8-3 against the spread in the first half as a road underdog. And surprisingly, in back-to-back situations, they've been pretty good in the first half as well. They're 3-1 ATS in those spots there as well. I think this might be the game where they do kind of run out of legs in that second half. Excuse me. The Nets, like we mentioned, they're on a back-to-back situation. This is their third game in 4 nights as well, and fourth game in 6 nights as well. So at some point, I think that does catch up to the Brooklyn Nets here. And like you mentioned, having to rely on guys that they had to call up. But, like you mentioned, Jordy Fernandez, the game planning he's putting together in the first quarter and first half, it's been working very well for this team, and the numbers, are telling us that. So I'll take the Nets in the first half here. Get in and get out with my money. Looking at the number for that in the first half is going to be 4 right now, currently over on mybookie.ag. Again, make sure you use that promo code SGPN. 100% deposit bonus of up to $1,000 over on mybookie.ag. But yeah, +4 would be the look for me in the first half for the Brooklyn Nets. You got anything for the total at 233.5?
I think I'd go with the Nets team total over in this game. I know it's going to sound dangerous, but the Bulls can't guard anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every Bulls game turns into a track meet, so I don't mind the over, maybe with the Nets team total.
Yeah, right there with you. I'd probably look at full game over or Nets team total over. I know they did have a great shooting night last night, but again, that was against one of the better defensive teams in the Orlando Magic. But the Chicago Bulls team is completely opposite. Just trying to pull up their numbers as far as what they've been doing at home on the total here quickly before we get to our picks. Let's see. Bulls 6-3 to the over in their home games as a home favorite this season. Spin that spot one time. They're 0-1 straight up, 0-1 ATS, of course. But overall at home this season, they've only won 2 of their 9 home games, and they're 4-5 ATS. So take that for what it's worth here. But I think Nets would definitely be the look in this game. You got anything else for this game, Scott?
No. I think that's going to cover it.
All right, let's get over to our picks for the Monday card, and then we'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here. You want to lead us off?
Sure. So for my actual lock, I think I have to go with props because the sides today are pretty ugly in general. I think for this one, I am actually going to go with Jalen Johnson in his matchup against New Orleans. And they can blow this team out, which would be concerning, but he's been great lately, and I feel like people haven't exactly acknowledged just how good he's actually been. So getting into the numbers here, do I want to go with his PRA? I mean, I feel like I can go with any of these stats, to be honest. I mean, he's had a really solid stretch of games. I think I'm going to go with his assists, actually. Give me Jalen Johnson over 4.5 assists at -110. He's had at least 7 assists in 3 straight, and you are looking at him doing pretty well in the head-to-head this season. Faced off 1 time already, and he had 8 assists in the first game back in early November. So I do like the fact that Jalen's been a good facilitator lately. I know Trey gets all the credit for facilitating on the team, but when you've had 7+ assists in 3 straight games, you had 8 in the first head-to-head meeting this season, and you're also looking at a guy who has a great matchup because New Orleans is allowing I believe it is the second or third most assists per game in the entire league. So I like Jalen Johnson assists. I'll go with the over 4.5 as my lock. For my dog, I mean, this is going to be the annoying one because, damn, I don't know what to expect in terms of lineups for the games today. So for the actual props for this one, what do I want to do in this one? I don't know who's actually going to play in any of these games.
I'm not. Do you want to go DeJounte props, AD? I'm gonna be on the AD for sure. I think he does end up playing here tonight. God, who else is there? Tatum props. I think Tatum plays here tonight.
I think Tatum should. I thought about his rebounds potentially for this game. It wouldn't shock me if Tatum ended up walking into a decent amount of boards.
Trey Young assists, I think you talked about.
I did, but I already have Jalen, so I don't know if I want to go with
okay.
2 separate Hawks guys assists for the same game. I think for this one, you know what? I'm not going to go with multiple Hawks guys. I thought about it, but I might just gamble on the Lakers sitting some guys, and I could just go from there. So I'm going to go with actually, no, Minnesota's been good against the 3 ball, but not against small forwards. Interesting. I thought of maybe going connect threes. I can get 4+ a +160, which is something I'm considering.
We haven't talked a lot about Naz Reid this season on the pod. I don't know. He's been pretty good against the Lakers, at least shooting the 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I know he had that in the first game of the season together, and then he banked in the first 3-pointer attempt that he had, and it felt pretty good watching that go in. Let me just see one thing with the head-to-head. You know what? I'll switch things up a little bit. I'm going to go with the defensive prop on Josh Giddey, of all people. Give me Josh Giddey over 1.5 steals and blocks at +145. He's gone over this in 2 straight games against the Nets, and he has actually gone over this in 4 of the last 5 games. He's had 3 steals and blocks in each of the last 2 games. +145, I think is pretty appealing. The Nets do allow a bunch of blocks, so we'll see what happens. But I think Giddey's in a good spot. Once again, +145 or something he's done in 4 of the last 5 games, and he's done in back-to-back head-to-head games against the Nets. I like the price. Give me Giddey over 1.5 steals and blocks at +145.
All right. For my lock,
Tell me my thoughts on the card, by the way. I had to deep dive to Giddey steals and blocks for a play.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Especially when every single game tonight has at least one team that's on a back-to-back here.
Yep.
But I think I will go with the Nets in the first half. It's been a very, very profitable angle early in the season here. We talked about the numbers there. And again, Bulls as a favorite. Yes, I understand the spot and the availability of some of the players for the Nets, but I think Jordi Fernandez, we talked about it, has just been a fantastic job with this Nets team. So I can trust him in the first half at least. Maybe they get some tired legs just being on a back-to-back, like we mentioned, 3rd game in 4 nights, 4 over 6 overall. But Nets +4 in the first half against the Chicago Bulls. So I'll take that as my lock. For my dog, I wanted to know if Dennis Schroeder is playing here tonight for sure.
I don't see him questionable at all. So
yeah,
he should be playing.
I like his assist at 10+ just because I know, and this has been a very profitable angle for me, banking on opposing point guards going up and over their assist totals against the Chicago Bulls. But I'll give you Anthony Davis. I think that's the one. I think he again just dominates against Rudy Gobert, and I do expect him to play here tonight. So I'm just going to take him up to 30 points, 30+ points tonight for Anthony Davis at +155. I like that for AD against Rudy Gobert. All right. So that's our lock and dog here for tonight. Take it with a grain of salt if you want to, just because, again, that was a theme throughout the show for us. not knowing who's playing tonight, but just another day in the NBA.
I was waiting for the good games to show up, and then the show was over. So that's kind of the card. But yeah, a lot of the good games were yesterday. So
yeah. All right, underdog entry here for tonight. Again, make sure you guys get over there, underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code NBA SGPN. You'll get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. All right. You want to start with Jalen Johnson assist?
we'll switch it up a little bit. We'll do PA this time. We'll go with points and assists.
Points and assists are at 24.5 for Jalen Johnson. We'll go higher on that. Where else do we want to go? Let's see.
I mean, you mentioned Davis, so I don't know if you want to just go back to points.
Yeah, he's listed at 26.5 on Underdog, so we can go higher on that. So we'll throw him in there, and then curious to see if they have.
You want to just do connect threes?
Yeah, that's what I was just looking up.
Should be 2.5.
Threes. They do. It's at 0.9, but we'll go with it.
Sure.
All right. We'll keep it simple here today. All right, so we'll go Jalen Johnson, points and assists, higher 24.5. Anthony Davis, higher 26.5 points. And then we'll go Dalton Connect, higher 2.5 3-pointers made. That is a 5.4x entry. So every $10 that you do put in, you'll see a return of $54. Again, if you don't have an account, please get over there, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use our promo code NBASGPN. 50% deposit bonus. And they also have discount tokens and all that fun stuff on there as well. Profit boost. I used a couple of those over the weekend as well for NBA and the NFL. So good time to get over there at underdogfantasy.com. And that, my friends, will do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Got anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, I believe I'll be back on Wednesday. Tomorrow's usually Lonte and Terrell, right?
Yeah, Lonte and Terrell tomorrow. We've got the I think the final day of the Cup games, if I'm not mistaken, group play.
Shout out to the Hawks, by the way. Made it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, look out for Terrell and Lonte tomorrow. And then Scott, like you said, will be back on Wednesday, where Scott, you get 2 more games to talk about on Wednesday.
Sweet.
Shorter schedule.
Sweet. Yeah.
So look out for us then. Appreciate everybody in the chat that does tune in with us live. Wouldn't be here without you guys. So if you could just do us a favor, if you haven't already, just hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast as well. If you're listening on the audio format, do us a huge favor. Leave us a rating and review if you could please do so, whether it's on Spotify or whether it is on Apple. Make sure you guys follow Scott over on the Twitter machine at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824, and also the NBA Gambling Podcast Twitter account at SGPN NBA. And come rock with us. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off, and always remember to let it ride.